We still have been, the attorneys have been working diligently to get this taken care of. And this came in on March the 6th, and it's some good news. Yesterday, Judge Clay signed our proposed order against Jamar Lewis. The proposed order allows us to now record this as a lien against his property in the amount of $15,280. And he's going to begin looking into the ability for us to foreclose and a judgment lien. This is very important first step in resolving the burden that the city has taken from this gentleman. So the dogs were picked up, Jamar is gone. It's a good thing. It's a happy day when we get something like that.
Thank you, Sherry.
The judge gave us like $8,000 in ordinance violation fines and $7,000 in attorney's fees.
Right. The judge actually asked for it. I think
We asked for it, he granted.
Sherry, is that about 300 some block of West Wesley?
the real one. I was hoping Beverly.
Yeah.
I believe it's 301
Yes.
Wesley,
West.
West Wesley, right. Yes, so that's a happy day. That's pretty much all I have.
I got a question for you. What about those, did anything materialize about those dogs down on, I think it was South Herman?
Are those the hidden dogs?
Yeah.
Are those on the empty lot and the,
Those are the ones, when I was up here one time, you mentioned that some elderly lady or something had problems with them. I don't know if they scared her or they were coming over to her house or whatever.
oh, I don't know.
Because we were gonna call it chief and I said, she was sitting outside.
That I don't know. I don't know about that
I
one.
bet you were on a dog.
Yeah, no, these are the West Wesley dogs, the big cane corsos. The next, oh, yes, please.
Okay, this is the letter that I received. Volkert is pleased to provide this proposal for professional land surveying services to update the city of Lebanon zoning map. They've been doing this for 20 years. Zoning, review annexation and zoning changes of ordinances provided by the city of Lebanon since the most recent update of April 2016. Update the zoning map drawing to reflect the annexations and zoning changes, which we've had in at least two. Provide a draft copy of the updated zoning map to the city for review and approval, and any comments are received and addressed. Final prints will be created. Hard copy along with a PDF and an AutoCAD drawing file will be submitted for the city's records and for publishing in the local paper. Schedule shall begin work within 5 days of receiving the written notice to proceed and receipt of the annexation and zoning change ordinances. A draft copy of the zoning map will be submitted within 10 days after commence of work. Final submittal of the zoning map will be 5 days after receipt of the review and the comments that we make on it. Fees, projected fees shall be time and materials based on the current hourly rates. The preliminary estimates of the cost is approximately $3,500. A more accurate estimate of cost can be provided after the number of annexations and zoning change ordinances is known. Any questions?
So now we need a motion and a second to
I
vote.
mean, this has to be done, so. I think
Motion and a
that's,
second to vote.
Second.
George. Yeah, right. Okay, motion to. Okay. Belkey,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Cornish,
Yes.
Farrell,
Yes.
Stevenson.
Yeah.
Trinka,
Yes.
Washington, Whitty.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on that right
Oh,
away.
you've got nothing else.
I think I'm done right now.
Chief?
I have nothing.
Okay. Streets and alleys, Cody?
I have two quick things I'm gonna reference out. The 2 block McAllister grant has started. They're back out working again today. Please give them room to work. There are road closed signs. They are out. Just be aware that if you have to get through there, drive through cautiously. It's to close it through traffic. So if you have to get down somewhere, any in that area, to the truck service that's down there. Legally, we have to give them room, so we're not blocking anybody else, but if you don't have any business down there besides being nosy, give our guys room to work. We'd like to get this done safely and fast as possible. This is gonna be blocked off at the entrance of Casey's and runs down to Herming Street. They're putting in storm drain, sidewalks, curb and gutter, and this is all getting done. This was a grant that was brought from 2016, 2017. We are finally getting it through the system, so bear with us. We're trying to make improvements for the city of Lebanon. I think we're making great leaps and bounds with our construction in the city of Lebanon. If you haven't seen a lot of our improvements, we're really getting traction with more grants to get things done. We did not, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe we did not successfully capture the Uptown. We
No, we
did not
did not.
successfully get the Uptown grant, but we're gonna continue to work on that. Just because we didn't get this year, doesn't mean we can't apply next year. And we get points for doing things, so. I see some people, I do believe you're from the Garden Club. I'm sorry if I don't know your names. I mean, if you're not, I apologize. I talked to Peggy Gertis. We're gonna try and bring color back to Uptown. I know that we've been taking stuff out, trees have been coming out. But we're doing this for the motoring public. We're doing this for the foot traffic to make sure people are not being hurt from trees. There's a tree down by their house that really needs to come out too. Just to give you ballpark numbers, we budgeted 30 and we're probably well close to 100 grand in trees this year. So I understand, I know I've seen on Facebook, I'd like to address that. We're trying to make sure that we're getting the trees that absolutely need to come out. There is a list up at City Hall and it's not all the trees.
No.
I think there's 114 trees on this list. There's well over 300 trees in the city's public right of way. We're trying to mitigate, keep the ones that we can, but there is oak and rot. I think it's called oak rot. And there's little nodules on some of the trees. You can treat them, but it doesn't mean it's gonna stay. We're trying. We've actively put stuff forward to make sure we can try and save the trees as we can, because I also agree, these trees are a part of Lebanon. I think that's what attracts people to this town, is that we have beautiful trees in this town. We're trying to save them, but we're also trying to keep someone from getting hurt, especially when they walk to school and we have branches that are falling that are 6 to 8 inches in diameter. So I think they meet on Wednesdays. They said last Wednesday, the club wasn't gonna work. They had some things. So, okay, so but at some point, I am going to meet up with them. We're gonna talk about revitalizing some things, hopefully get some stuff from the archway that's down there at the intersection by Casey's, and maybe bring some of that in town. But yes, I understand we do need color. It looks bland uptown. We are working on it. Bear with us. We will get there. Yes, ma'am.
How long will McAllister Street be gone?
They haven't given an actual estimate, but I can ask them to get back with you. I believe
Two things?
trees and garden, probably in McAllister.
Anything else, Cody?
I'm sorry. I think it's 120 days, but I don't hold me to the fire on that. I'm gonna talk to the supervisor. Weather pending. They should be in a pretty decent time.
Okay.
But again, bear with us. You have to make a mess to make things better. That's how construction works.
Okay, Penny?
The only thing I had is, we've been talking a lot about that, community development block grant. I did get that submitted today. Tomorrow was the deadline for submission. Got some final maps for it done over the weekend, and that was, taken to the grants department today, so. Everybody cross your fingers. Hopefully we'll get that $100,000 and be able to the water line up Herman Street, so.
Perfect. Thank you. Blake is not here, our code enforcer, but he did leave me with a report. From the beginning of January until March 10th, there have been a total of 51 inspections completed. These inspections included residential, commercial, occupancy inspection, rough framing on new builds, electrical inspections, as well as footing foundations. These inspections have been completed on new homes, new businesses, as well as existing. And as well, there have been 5 code enforcement cases. So
Thank you.
you can have them, please. I'm sorry. That's it for the department head reports, unfinished business. Request to go into executive session under 5 ILCS 120, section 2C6 of the Open Meeting Act to discuss the library lease for fiscal year 2026. The other item is present and approve the contracting of TWM to engineer the placing of a sewer line from north boundary of parcel 042502000016 located at 800 McAllister to run north to city existing sewer. So we need a motion and a second to have TWM do the engineering.
There's no estimate, whatever, something on that, right?
I motion that we do this so we don't lose the business. The TWM, everything that you just said, so I don't have to recite every single number unless you want me to, but I motion that we.
We don't, Penny, do we have an estimate?
There won't be an estimate until you give them a scope of
Okay.
work. And it would be initially for survey work, not for engineering of the line.
Okay.
But it would be
That
for
was-
surveying to make sure that it is even feasible.
Second.
Oopsie. Did you get a second?
Yes.
Okay. Roll call?
Bennett,
Yes.
Cornish,
Yes.
Farrell,
Yes.
Stevenson,
Yes.
Trinka,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Whitty,
Yes.
Belkey.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll move forward on that.
May I
Yes,
ask a
ma'am.
question? I would just like to address and ask why, if there are grounds. Yes, I will first state that I'm 100% for this and it should be done. But I kind of have some questions on to what grounds you guys decided to move forward with this, considering you shut a business down for the same request in 2 other parcels, just a couple years ago.
I think the location, as far as there's easements there, and I know the business that you're speaking of did not have an easement at that time.
But you're talking about boring underneath the highway, which you still had the same opportunity to do.
And with to be clear, so that everybody knows, I know some of you were on council, but others were not, like, we offered to pay for the labor and materials for that to happen if the city would obtain the easement and was told to kick locks. So this 100% should be done for them because it cost me $16,000 to fight with somebody to find another avenue. And you guys should never do that to another business. But I do have a lot of questions as to what the difference was in this case versus that case, considering I was offering to bring utilities to 3 parcels, one that was gonna have an existing business with 3 businesses or a building with 3 businesses in it, and then 2 parcels that are in your TIF district that doesn't have utilities. I was offering to bring them utilities and was told no and shot down. So I 100% agree. That's why I let you guys vote. This should be supported, but I do want you guys to be prepared because I am gonna have a lot of questions.
Jessica, on that particular thing you're talking about, I remember that. But wasn't there a problem with RP Lumber Company or something there?
It was
And
the easement.
and that there was no, that you, I guess, and I'm not picking on you, I don't mean that. But you didn't basically have all your ducks in a row before you actually went into purchasing or what it was, whatever happened there?
So there's a city ordinance that reads that the sewer lines have to be brought to the edge of the property. And then you are responsible for the sewer line once it hits your property, which is why this is 100% valid on why they're requesting this.
Right.
Once the sewer line is brought or ran, if somebody else does it, then at that time, the ordinance reads that once construction is complete, the city would take ownership of it. Years ago, there was a handshake deal that was done because there was 2 parcels. I own the building that some people refer to as the barn in town that has State Farm, Apex Physical Therapy, and the Mine Shack in it. That used to be 2 separate parcels. or it still is two separate parcels, but it used to be owned by the same person. When they ran that line, nobody completed the paperwork or did whatever they needed to do to make sure that the city took ownership of that line. We got all the way down to where we broke ground and started doing construction and asked the city, since nothing had been on that vacant parcel for years, we asked them to televise it and look at it to make sure there was no issues before we connected to it, or we would address those issues beforehand. And then we got informed it's not a city line. We didn't ever actually take ownership of that. And that's why we got into the fight with the easement. And I will also state, I have in writing from Mayor Rich Wilkin at that time that the council and him had spoke and they decided that they would pursue and obtain easement because it was cheaper for them to bring the lines to the edge of our property that way than it was to bore under the highway. And so then they backed out, and I can go into that, it kind of relates to earlier, but I won't go into that. But they backed out and decided they wouldn't do it. But the ordinance does read you have to bring it to the property line, and then they're responsible from their property line to wherever they need it within their property.
Did we vote? Or just get a motion in a second? Just for the surveying or the engineering or whatever. We voted. Okay, I got lost.
She got lost.
It's late. New business, request to go into executive session under 5 ILCS 120, section 2C1 of the Open Meeting Act for the consideration of the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. The other one is to request to go into executive session under 5 ILCS 120, section 2C6 of the Open Meeting Act to set the price for sale or lease of property owned by the public body. There will be a vote after returning from executive session on items discussed. So what that means for y'all that usually aren't here, we ask that you leave. If you want to leave, or leave and you can come back in if you need to hear the vote. And
And a motion on it.
Not yet. We need a motion and we need a second.
Motion.
Thank you. Second.
roll call.
Cornish, we're going into executive session. Cornish. Farrell. Stevenson. Thank you. Rinka.
Yes.
Washington. Whitty. Thank you. Belknap.
Yes.
Bennett.
I just want to make sure that